Hello from wherever you are, and welcome to Let's Play Games. I'm John McFarland, Adult Services Librarian for Nashville Public Libraries, and I hope you'll join me in learning or rediscovering some of the more common and uncommon games out there. This is part 2 of us covering Settlers of Catan. And as I promised, it's not just there for 4, it's there for 6. Let's get stuck in. I would highly encourage that you view the previous episode where we covered the basics of Settlers of Catan for 4 players. This time, as you can tell, we've added some chaos to the mix. With 6 players, there are some slight rule changes. Also, I wanted to highlight just how variable this game is and its replay value. Notice with 6 players, there's some joints added to it so you can fit all of the provided tiles on the map. One other important thing is, notice there are 2 deserts this time compared to the 1. So the game guidebook suggests that, and I'll mention these letters on top, that you go by the letters kind of in order to balance it out across the board. Or you can go as random as you like. So what it recommends is taking the pieces, putting them upside down, shuffling them, and then placing them just in a nice little counterclockwise order, moving in, and then placing numbers on each of them in the same order, skipping the deserts, obviously. So there are ones that you won't use. But what this makes is a highly modular and chaotic map. Same rules as before. You're trying to create 10 victory points. You start with 2 settlements, you start with 2 roads. But now you have to think about, where do I want to place things on a larger board? You've got more opportunity for resources, but sometimes they can end up a little clustered. Take, for example, see we ended up with the wood blocks all kind of clustered together. Usually it can end up even being random, looking like a nice fun little design. And this game is probably, depending on where stuff is put, there's going to be a glut of wood because there's 5, 9, and 8. Right here is probably one of the, just by luck, best on the board. Because that's, out of all of the times in which you could be doing things, doing all right. So you think, okay, well, what about placing things on the side where the ships are? Well, usually the 5-6 player comes with, you can even modulate that. So there is a whole lot of design to this game. So we're going to be doing the same thing as before. We're going to place pieces on the board. We're going to be collecting the resources when we respectively roll wherever things are placed. Trying to build longest road, trying to build longest army, trying to make development cards. So as a reminder, for a road, you just need a wood and a brick. For a settlement, you need wood, brick, wheat, and sheep. For a city, you need 2 wheat and 3 ore. And for one of the development cards, you're going to need a sheep, a wheat, and an ore. So now let's kind of look at the board where it's at. Much like last episode, you have to think about what your priority is and how you can maximize the return on what hopeful roll you're getting. There's a lot of 5s here. So 5 is going to produce a dearth, as is 4, I believe. 5, 4, and 3, there's a lot more of these on the board than there normally would be, but this is an uneven distribution intentionally, just to show you how you have to think about what you're going to do over the course of the game. So let's see here. If we're going to start with green, it goes in a clockwise order here, where you're going to decide where you want to place things. Now, this 862 here is a pretty good option. where you're almost guaranteeing yourself a fair supply of wood and sheep. I'd actually contend that this spot is even better with the amount of sheep. Here's the thing that you probably are hoping that other players don't see. There's a 2-to-1 sheep conversion right here. There's also a 2-to-1 here. If you can make it to either one of those, with this 5 and 6, you're doing okay. So let's say you're gonna try and sneak your way over. Now, play would then move to orange here. So orange is gonna try and plan this. There's not gonna be a crazy lot of brick in this game. So that might be an important thing to consider, is maximizing that opportunity. Also, where is the brick conversion? Over here. So there's also one over here, but it's in places where there are 2s. So I'd say they're probably gonna do that one right there, just to guarantee themselves best supply of ore and a decent supply of brick. Remember, trading is an important part of the game, so realizing what you may be able to prioritize trading for will be a good thing. Now, where do you try and go? You're near 2 deserts, which is kind of crappy, but you'll go, let's say you're gonna go down here. You may go to the corners here. The 6-5's not a bad combination idea. Notice that here, here, and here cannot be settlements. So sometimes the placement is all about where people now can't place stuff versus where they can place stuff. Now we've got the choice of, I'm almost tempted to take this for 6 right here. If the wheat generation wasn't on the complete opposite side of the board, I'd honestly be considering it. But I'll do this 6-10 right here. As you can tell, the set has been well loved over the years. There's a little bit of bend, apologies for that. So we'll do it here, see if we can sneak downwards. Red, kind of the same boat. There you see, okay, some of the bigger number pieces have been taken so far. This is probably good placement right here. Brick, a little bit of the wheat action, and a little bit of ore, just to help matters out. And we'll say they'll go this direction to see about maybe going towards this forested area. We'll move on to blue. Now, notice it's getting a little frustrating for certain positions, but there are some benefits to going later. You can see where some of this is starting to prop up. I want to be going there. What's the 2-to-1 wood exchange is all the way up there. It's probably not going to be super helpful. The 2-to-1 exchange is over there. This brick exchange is over here. I'll say we'll go this way. There's a lot of open space here for the moment. So now we then go to white. White's got to think, okay, what's the best possible remaining that hasn't been picked yet in any capacity? We can think, especially of these like pip counts down here. Notice here and here isn't available, but we'll say here is, because there's a lot of empty space over here, but the number drops are really bad. So this is part of the nuance section of the game where you're trying to figure out how exactly to place and where to place. So that's everyone one time through. Let me take a step back and tell you a little bit more about some of the historical ideas behind this game and why its development is just so cool. One sec. So one of the big questions is, what year is this set in, or what year is this based off of? It's a fun little investigatory question that you can come to your own conclusions on. But commonly accepted, let's help narrow it down. It's definitely not a Roman era game because certain materials like harder axes, the scythe pieces, and there's still elements of Roman roads as seen on the longest road card. There's also ore as a specific type of material that would be a bit more common to somewhere around what we sometimes refer to as the Dark Ages, so probably the end of the first millennium. But what gives it slowly away is on our victory point cards, the developmental cards that you can purchase with a sheep, a wheat, and an ore, the university card. Universities did not come about until roughly around the 1100s, although we saw rudimentary versions before that. So, roughly speaking, this is probably based somewhere at the beginning of the Middle Ages as a general theme. So, I went ahead and placed the second settlement for all the players, just so we can get started with some of the rolling and some of the nuance for it. Notice how even on a huge board, things still filled up very quickly. For example, no one is going to be able to get any more spot on this 5 wood right here. Actually, no one's going to be able to get one on this 8 here either. So wood's kind of at a premium, but these 4 players, yellow, or not yellow, orange, white, blue, and green, respectively. Red is not going to have access to any wood currently. Brown managed to sneak in this right here. So let's say green's first. We'll go ahead and roll and get ourselves started. So right out of the gate, notice that we've got different combinations on the board. So a brick for snake eyes there. Brick for white as well. So with their draw, they can actually make 2 roads straight out of the gate here. The question is, where would they want to build them? A lot of the important connection here is figuring out where to go and how to go. But by building a road, you can technically block off a little bit of the combination. So we're going to do that. Green's going to do 2 roads. And they're going to do like right here. Actually, 1, 2, 3, 4. They need 4 roads to get here. I'd rather go for sheep land over here. And you can have a road be as long as you want before building a settlement, as long as you have a direction to go. That's going to be the end of their turn. The next person's going to actually roll snake eyes again. So that is brick here and a brick here. They've got nothing they can really do at this point, so they'll move on to a brown player there. I'm trying to clearly destroy the island with my rolls. So for 11, that is, and in a larger gathering, this would actually happen fairly quickly because everyone would know, respectively, what thing that they're going to get with each roll. Hence why it's usually more like a common played area. Things are a little more difficult when you're one person playing for 6. And that was here. Can't do anything with it. So we'll move on to red. Red's going to roll an 11 as well. So blue and orange. Then red's going to get itself another ore. So notice they've got 3 of the ore that they would need for a city. They don't have any wheat. So they're probably thinking to themselves, I would love a 9 right now. Really would love a 9. But they haven't gotten there yet. So play will continue to the blue player. That's 10. So that's a brick for brown. Where else is a 10 on the board? White gets a sheep. So let's see what they've got over here. They've actually got 4 sheep right here. They could actually offer to trade with somebody and potentially work with their own options. They don't have any spot to go, so they can say, hey, does anyone want to trade me? Or the only people who could possibly want to trade with them would be, for right now, red might have one, of which they do, but they might want to keep theirs, especially since for red, it's at a premium. 11 and 2, even though, funnily enough, we've rolled them pretty frequently to start, is a relatively rare occurrence, and as long as they don't have too many resources, they can keep a hold of it. No one's obligated to trade with you. So we'll keep going. This will be the white players, so 5. So a lot of people are about to get things now because 5's a popular drop. So white and orange and blue for that. Sheep is blue and orange. So we're now going to have to pay attention a little bit to what has been drawn and how many cards somebody has. Because remember, for the robber, you will be dealing with the potential of, if you have more than 7, so a total of 8, you'll have to get rid of it. So let's look at orange for a second. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. They've already got 7. In theory, they could be in a little bit of trouble. But for the moment, I think I got everybody. Just double checking myself. Notice that this is a fairly large board, but when you are just focusing on what you as green has or you as red has, you know what numbers you're going to hit. So we'll be all the way back to green and brick for brown. This is 10. White gets a sheep. If a 7 is rolled, they're in some trouble. So they've got a sheep and a brick. Not a crazy lot they can do with it yet. So they're gonna go ahead and go. Another 5, and play will continue on like this as you start getting towards some development of pieces. Play will go fairly quickly, even for a game like this, as you get resources, as you get enough to go. Notice that orange in particular is getting kind of worried about the number of things they've got. But they've got what'll be 6 sheep and 3 wood. The beauty is that if there was the ability to build a settlement right now, they would have enough based off of this, but they could also decide to create a development card. So let's say they decided to do that on their turn. Let's make sure they don't roll 7 here. Okay, we're good. And they'll trade in that. Then they will subsequently trade in this, reducing the amount of things they have in their hands so they don't get impacted by the robber. They'll get a development card. So they got a knight. The knight can move the robber at any point and take a resource from anybody who rolls it. So what you're going to run into here is, throughout the course of this game, developing as much as you can with the space and maximizing what you have. This ends up being a nice little competition after a while. One second, I've got a little more conversation about the time period itself, which this game is based off of. And then a little bit more about kind of endgame strategy. One sec. So let me focus on the ore card for just a moment. Why would the ore card be so important? Brick is also another key element. We saw a movement from grazing and pasturing larger farmlands and more open spaces to the development of cities. Notice that you can build cities. What do you need? More wheat in order to feed a population as they congregate into a more concentrated area, and ore for basic metallurgy. So one of the key elements of city building is being able to hold higher concentrations of people. Because of this, you need more of those key building elements, more stable framing, hence why we have the increasing requirements of more sturdy material in order to build from a settlement to a city. This is one of my favorite aspects of this game. It's roughly comparable to the materials that you would need to actually build a settlement or a city or a road. So I went ahead a little bit and I wanted to show you kind of what the end game of Catan can look like in a 6-player game. So let's start with orange. Remember at the beginning, we kind of picked out the middle just to see if we could get the scope of what was in the center here. Previous episode, somebody in the center did very well based on the fact that they had room to move. Well, they got blocked in. They tried to connect their roads here. Did not really work that well. So they got blocked in here, Can't really go up here. That's not buildable. That is technically buildable, but they'd have to build 2 roads to get there in the first place. They got 1 development card and they managed to get largest army by playing 3 or 4 knight cards. And aside from that, that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 points. But they're really running out of room as to what they can do. They could maybe try and squeeze in here, but unless they start getting really profitable rolls, they're not doing too great. A 6 and a 3 in general could get them at least in a little bit of contention, but right now they're sitting at 6 points. If you upgrade this, that would bring them to 8. Don't know how they're going to get to 10. Brown got kind of also in a similar situation smushed, but also because blue went on a lucky streak of forest drops and brick drops in order to build all the way up here towards that 2-to-1 ratio for wood specifically. So they were able to really start maximizing. So they only have 1, 2, 3, 4. They haven't been able to convert these 6 rolls, which should normally work really well for them, except for when you have too many resources in hand and you lose it to the robber and you keep getting the knight played against you. So forgot to put this in here. Right now, red they've made their own little nice niche down here. So none of the victory point cards, but 2 cities, 2 settlements. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. They've got at least a little bit of room to expand, but they're also getting kind of hemmed in. They're really hoping for some city generation that could get them to 8. In theory, they could get to 10, but they're still kind of stuck. Meanwhile, blue has one of the better chances of winning. So they got the 1 victory point, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. They're sitting at 6 points. They've got a little bit of room to expand. And they've got at least a little bit that they can get off of if they can really get some city generation going. But the robber's been on 3, which meant that any 3 rolls, they've been out of luck on. White really got the short end of the stick on this one because they're over here and they're over here, and there's no way to bring them together. So longest road is definitely out. They're blocked in by brown over here, green and orange over here, red over here, and then also a combination of green, blue, orange, and brown, all kind of struggling for the same space. Green, on the other hand, green managed to snake all the way towards that sheep production, and that has been paying dividends. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 for longest road, 9 for the victory point. Now, this is one of the little elements of the game. We can see that all 5 of the victory point cards have now been placed in hands. Some people will continue going after the development cards to maybe get largest army, because if they can wrest this away from orange, game's over. But at this point, all they need to do is build one more settlement, which would probably be like right here. Notice that red was able to block off green from connecting its road all the way there. And actually, I forgot to count here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. I forgot to do the changeover. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Yep. So changing this over. That means, let me recount this. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So instead of suddenly being 1 point away from victory, they're 3 points away from victory. This person's 2 points away. So now what? Obviously, a settlement would be the next construction. So let's say that was what happened. So now both are at 8 apiece. If you are the other players, you can have a hand in who actually wins this game. From this vantage point, both seem to have a decent chance. They may keep going after development cards. And if they can get something like Monopoly and get all of the resources of wheat or ore to make more cities, they can make 2 more cities for either circumstance, and game's over. So it's a question always of how do you get to that 10? And the other players can be at least somewhat of a spoiler, so it's not as though you're ever out of the game. This is part of the replay value, being able to go over and over again and, as a group, enjoy time trading, taking each other's longest roads, and building settlements until somebody gets all the way to 10 points. This is not the only version of Catan that's out there. If you go into a game store or any sort of common market that sells board games, you're actually going to see expansions to this. 5 to 6 player is its own technical expansion into the game, but there's also ones that cover, similar to time period, little niche aspect. There's a specific cities expansion that it increases the import that cities have on the board. You also have barbarians, kind of simulating barbarian invasions like the Anglo-Saxon invasions. You also see things like the seafarers and pirates. So this game is, as a baseline, already an enjoyable game. When you add in some of the expansions, you're gonna need a bit more board space. That's all the time we have for today. Thanks for tuning in. Join me next time as we delve into yet another game. Also, be sure to check out our great NPO Universe content on our YouTube page. And just as a reminder, you can check out this as well as many other board games as a part of our collection. Just go onto our website, library.nashville.org, and search in our catalog for board games. I'll see you next time.